Today we're predicting AEW in 2025, which I believe will be the biggest and most successful year for AEW. Now, along the way in the last 5 years, they've had a lot of mistakes, but they've also had some great accomplishments. And I find it really interesting that next year we could look back at this video and see what actually came true, what didn't come true. Am I right? Am I wrong? I guess I will be looking next year to find out. Now, with that being said, I think the best place to start as far as predictions go is the TV deal. We know that AEW is currently having talks with Warner Bros. Discovery, and we know that those talks are pretty damn positive, but obviously everybody's wondering what's going to happen. I don't believe that AEW is leaving Warner Bros. Discovery. I have genuinely believed since day one that their relationship with Warner Bros. Discovery has been a positive one. So yes, AEW will probably be streaming pay-per-views on Max in 2025. But I also believe that with this new TV deal, there's going to be some changes. And that actually includes the removal of AEW Rampage. Now, Rampage is not a show that is needed for AEW. And quite frankly, it is just extra content for Warner Bros. Discovery. But I don't think Rampage is needed. I think that extra time slot is not really worth it for AEW, nor is it really worth it for Warner Bros. Discovery. But instead, I think we're going to see a massive change, which actually includes Ring of Honor. Now, Tony Khan has been very open about the idea of creating more synergy between AEW and Ring of Honor. I fully predict that Ring of Honor will officially become the developmental brand for AEW. So ROH will be rebranded into AEW Ring of Honor. Rampage will go away. And then Ring of Honor will officially be on TV. And I think it's going to happen as True TV rebrands to TNT Sports. And I think this could be a really good thing, to be honest with you. I don't know how I feel about Watch ROH being a thing, but I do feel like if we're going to have AEW pay-per-views on Max, I think we'll also get the same with Ring of Honor. And if you remove Rampage, this allows AEW to be way more focused on Dynamite and Collision. And then, of course, Ring of Honor getting on TV will be a monstrous thing for them. And then also, you got to keep in mind, if True TV is being rebranded to TNT Sports, I could see even Collision being moved to that channel. And then the only AEW show that is on TBS will be Dynamite, because obviously that is their flagship show. I think that is a very big possibility. I think it's very likely that it happens. And quite frankly, I think it's going to be the thing that ultimately helps AEW, because if there is a renewed focus on Ring of Honor and its storylines and properly building pay-per-views, and then there's a system where those people could get called up to Collision or Dynamite, I think more people would be willing to watch Ring of Honor. So definitely see that happening. I think it happens in 2025. Obviously, we'll find out soon, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit about Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch, obviously not on WWE television. Sounds like she's retiring. I don't know. I've seen too many people walk away from WWE, too many retirements happen, and then sure enough, they show up somewhere else. And maybe this is controversial, but I do think that Becky Lynch will go to AEW in 2025. I think she'll work a very extremely limited amount. I think obviously she really prioritizes motherhood, and I think it's really important that we acknowledge that Becky Lynch going to AEW would just be more so to kind of help the women's roster and help the women's division in that company. The women's division is already such a great thing. I mean, they've completely changed their philosophy towards the women and the booking of the women's division. I'm glad about that, because they have such a great roster, but there wasn't a focus on it. I think Becky Lynch joins AEW. I think she joins them for a year or two. I think Becky Lynch will then come back to WWE for one final run and Hall of Fame induction. So if Becky Lynch comes to AEW, I mean, that's huge. People love Becky Lynch. This is one of those situations where her going to AEW, it wouldn't be a bad thing for AEW at all. I mean, it would help them in a lot of ways. But I also think for Becky Lynch to go to AEW, it just gives us an opportunity to see some new match types, or match-ups, I should say, that we haven't seen before, right? So that is like one of those things where I wouldn't be shocked if it happened. I know a lot of people think that she's going to be a WWE lifer, but I've really learned that, like, when you've accomplished everything in WWE, man, and you love wrestling, there's so many different places you can go. And look at Mercedes, right? She left WWE, she did New Japan, Stardom, AEW. Like, she's living her dream, which is to really bring awareness to women's wrestling and do big things. And I can see Becky Lynch following suit. The only difference is I think it is far more likely that Becky Lynch goes for a short period of time to go back to WWE, whereas with Mercedes, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. We all know that Ricochet is more than likely coming to AEW. I predict that Ricochet will be AEW's international champion in 2025. The good thing about this, though, is Ricochet is probably going to truly be a traveling champion. And that's something that I want to see more out of AEW. You know, we see a lot of talent coming into AEW. We don't see a lot of talent from AEW going outwards. Yes, it does happen from time to time, but I think Ricochet is one of those guys. He's been in WWE so long. I'm sure there's a lot of things he could do in Japan. I think there's a lot of things that he can do around the world. And if he was AEW International Champion, he's a guy that's respected. The hardcore fans love him. If he's traveling around with that belt and doing big things with that belt, I think it just inevitably makes AEW look good. And that would be one of the things that I think should happen. I think Ricochet going to AEW is more of a lateral move. I liked when he was the Intercontinental Champion, and I thought he was a good Intercontinental Champion. In AEW, I want to see him part of big storylines and doing big things. I want to see him have a big role. If he takes that traveling champion approach as international champion, I think that makes up for the fact that he might not be like world champion at some point, which it's just too crowded, right? Bryan Danielson, Swerve, and Okada, and Kenny's coming back, and Kota Ibushi. I mean, there's just so many other people that could be world champion. And I'm not saying it to say that Ricochet can't be a world champion. I'm just saying that the roster is already crowded with top guys. It makes it a little bit more difficult, okay? So yeah, Ricochet wins the international champion. I think that definitely happens. And then my final prediction is Hangman Page becomes the #1 babyface in the company's history. Right now, he's doing some excellent heel work, and I think this is just inevitable. AEW doesn't have that top baby face that I think of. They have Will Ospreay, who's incredible. They have MJF, who I think is incredible. They have Adam Copeland, who I think is incredible. There is a lot of guys that are incredible in that company, but there is just something missing. The company doesn't have that definitive #1 baby face. WWE has Cody Rhodes. Roman Reigns just returned. Now Roman Reigns is babyface. WWE has Jey Uso. They just have a list of top baby faces. Like, there's just so many of them. And, you know, I think when I look at AEW, that is something that they're missing. I think Hangman Page inevitably becomes the #1 babyface in the company. I think he will be their guy. I think he will be their Cody Rhodes. He will be their Roman Reigns. And I think he should be their Cody Rhodes. Like, he should be their John Cena. Hangman Page is so damn good, man. People don't give him the credit he deserves. But I'm telling you guys, I think it for sure happens. And because Hangman Page becomes the #1 babyface in the company, I do actually think in 2025, we will see the death of the Elite. And that would be a very, very monstrous way to end the storyline. And then AEW could go back and, you know, the Young Bucks could be in the tag team division. Okada could be doing his own thing solo. Jack Perry could be doing his own thing solo. I think once it officially ends, everybody will come out better than they were going into it. And that's exactly what is needed. But let me know what you guys think. What are some of your predictions for AEW in 2025? Drop a comment down below.